Welcome back to our program, Telling Sandy Stories. I'm your host, Jim Hooker. I'm joined by three extraordinarily talented Jersey Shore natives who are documenting in their own way the devastation and in some ways the hopeful rebirth from Hurricane Sandy of just about 2 years ago. That's Kevin Burkett, a Manasquan, Monmouth County native, whose still photography project, Hurricane Sandy, 91 Days, Countless Nights, has garnered widespread recognition for the way it captures the devastation and, in some cases, the hopeful reawakenings of a post-Sandy Jersey Shore. And then we have here Sandra Levine, who is a freelance television producer and Toms River native, who's completing a gripping documentary on the superstorm, which we saw at the top of the program, titled Heartbreak and Healing After Sandy. That's going to get a premiere at Ocean County Community College
in end of October.
End
October
of October.
26th.
Okay, the 26th? Okay. And Justin Osiello, a native of South Seaside Park in Ocean County and an urban planner by day, whose Facebook page, Jersey Shore Hurricane News, played a key role in Superstorm Sandy and ultimately received a White House citation. And Justin, as we promised our viewers, we'd start with you when we came back. And tell us about your Facebook page, if you would, and how you came upon the idea.
So the Facebook page was born on August 23rd of 2011. And essentially it was created simply out of love for my community and simply out of a way just to keep people connected.
And so early, I'm going to interrupt because what I really wanted to say was so folks get an idea, because the way we measure these Facebook pages and social media and stuff is how many folks are plugged in. And in your case, I read there were 70,000 likes or so, views, likes. You can clear that up for me. Initially, which is no small potatoes, just before, was it Irene you said?
Sandy, right before Sandy.
Okay. After Sandy, the number jumped to 200,000. Now, I just checked the other day, you're at 225,000 as we tape here, closing in on 250,000 people.
That's great.
Who are locked into your site. So tell us about it.
Really, and you say likes, followers, whatever. I like to see the people that like the page, they are part of the news reporting team. They are a contributor. Now, the whole kind of point of this is a two-way news outlet. So essentially, people are not just being fed information from the top down, they're actually part of the reporting team. And my role as the editor is someone to do all the journalism, is someone to do the confirmation, someone to make the phone calls and package the reports.
Now, you've said traditional media, if I read, or if they quoted you right, traditional media quoted you right, wherever I read this, you've said they often don't tell the whole story. If I read that right, or if you were quoted right, if that's so, what kind of stories were they missing that you were able to tell through your Facebook page during the crisis?
I think what I meant from that is that now, for example, with Sandy, right? Now, from the day-to-day, I cover news, traffic, weather, feature stuff when there's no hurricane right now, right? So I'm doing that. But during a crisis like Sandy, I was able to report information essentially in real time, right? So there's one editor, there's me. I'm the one who does. I wear all the hats, and I have my huge reporting team, the people on the ground, feeding me that, right? So I was able to disseminate that on a platform like Facebook, where, like as we said earlier, everyone's on Facebook, right? The viral nature of Facebook allows you to report information quickly and allow people to learn about that rapidly.
So let me understand this. Are they texting you or calling you, or can't they just post directly to the page, or how is this working? Are you like an editor controlling the portal where folks can only post what you allow,
Sure.
or how does this work?
People can post whatever they want to the page, essentially, right? But the way that Facebook works is that the only way that gets reposted is if essentially I see it and I think it's a valid report, right? So that requires a lot of
can't somebody post on your wall, as it were?
They can, but that's not going to be sent out to the masses, so to speak.
Okay.
So they can post it, and that's another thing that needs to be watched. I mean, and I give a lot of credit to people. I've seen Only one really false report in 3 years doing this. Now, maliciously false report.
It was malicious?
Oh,
you're saying?
only one.
Well,
Only one.
that's not bad.
And not from me.
It happens
This
in
was,
mainstream media
you know,
as well.
But this was posted on the wall, and
Mm-hmm.
I did my research, and I saw it's not true, and I deleted it. So no one ever saw it, essentially.
Wow.
So I give humans, human race, a lot of credit here.
Good, yeah, no, you're right. And in some of the worst tragedies I remember seeing,
Sure.
Anchors fooled in traditional media. I can remember a New York anchor being, et cetera, but we won't go there. But interesting that you had that solid foundation among your folks. Where are they from? Are they locally, these 200,000+? Are they all around the country?
They're all around the country
Shore people, what?
and all around the world, but most of them are from Ocean County and Monmouth County.
Wow.
That's pretty much the base, because of course.
What's the population there? You have to have like 20% of the population or something. I don't know what the population
I think
is.
there. I mean, look, I know that a lot of people, Tom's River and Brick are like kind of ground zero for the people on JSHN. And just a quick little story, a little tangent. Last night I was on the Barnegat Bay at Ticey Shoal, which is off Island Beach State Park, snapping a photo of the sunset. And there were 3 guys coming back from the beach, walking to their boat with their surfboards. And it was a beautiful image, right? It was just iconic. I snapped the photo, and 20 minutes later, a guy said, "Thank you so much for capturing this photo of us." I don't know him, but he just happens to like the page and he saw it. So the whole point here is that we're all connected.
You had it up on the page that
Had
quickly,
it-
right
that-
from your phone.
Right from my phone.
Right
We're
onto the
all
page.
connected, and that is really kind of how people really work together during and after Sandy, because it's a small community and we're all together.
So tell us about this. The state emergency management officials, which is, I don't know, is they part of state police or?
Yes, state police.
Okay, so they used your site. I said at the open commandeered. That's probably a little strong, but I was going for something strong there.
Sure.
But you can refine it now if you like. They used your site as a social media portal, from what I understand, to communicate with people on the shore. How did that happen? Did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them, give them permission? What went on there?
Well,
What did
this,
they do?
this really came about after Irene, right? I did this kind of the same type of coverage during and after Irene, right? And back then, no one knew who I was. This Facebook page came up, and I think about 25,000 people liked it in a few days. So state police, they were monitoring it, and during Irene, and they didn't know what I was capable of, right? I could have spread all types of false information and created panic. So they had me into their offices in November 2011 just to meet me, and God forbid we have something else that happens like this, right? We want to possibly work together. You have kind of this critical mass.
So they saw you in a positive light, and they
Yes.
were asking for your help.
For my help to get information out.
Traditional media, which interests, full disclosure type of craziness that people say, I come from a long background of traditional media, Sandy's familiar with it, might have qualms about giving over some of their space to an official outlet like the Office of Emergency Management. Any qualms from you, or how did that work?
No, and this really was like a partnership, right? I mean, they didn't take control, right? I still had full control. But in the days before Sandy, I was being fed a lot of information directly, right? Because they knew that I would get it out rapidly. So when the storm surge started to come in at around 8 p.m. that evening, people started writing on the page, texting me, calling me from their houses in Ortley Beach and all up and down the coastline. I'm trapped. I can't get through to 911. I need help. I had a little bit of panic. I said, I'm inland. I'm not in my house in South Seaside Park. Call 911 again. They call again. Can't get through. So I had reached out to a lady from OEM, and I said, do I have permission to post that that if you're trapped and you can't get through 911, post your location and your name and how many people you have? And she said, sure, do it. So people started in seconds. People would reply, water's coming up rapidly, we need help. And then she would essentially write, okay, we're getting help to you. So by using Facebook and by using this platform where people are connected, we're able to kind of bridge that gap.
So I actually saw a documentary ahead of Sandy's, I guess, where a woman and her 6 children, I believe it was, were saved from Breezy Point in New York by a tweet to the fire department in New York City, telling where they were. 911 was overburdened, like you're talking about. Did you save any lives with this, do you feel? Do you feel, you probably don't want to blow a horn that way, but do you feel that you've saved folks' lives by doing this?
I think not me personally, I think the beauty of social media saved lives. I mean, really, this wouldn't exist, really, without technology, right? So this is, I mean, all the credit goes to technology. All the credit, as always, you know, in what I do, goes to the people who were really there to help each other. And that's really the whole point of this. You know, I didn't get into this for the money. I got into this to help people.
Well, you wouldn't have gotten into journalism for the money. That much we know, which is probably why you're an urban planner, though. Maybe, who knows what that does. But, I mean, you are not a journalist, you say, but you kind of are at the same time. I mean,
I've kind of evolved into it.
Do you still do the urban planning?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and I still do that, and I'm a freelancer with WHYY in Philadelphia, and I also have a few of my other journalism projects. So I'm you know, yes, I mean, I am a journalist, but I'm not your traditional journalist, right? I kind of came into this from the back door.
Very interesting. Now, you received a White House citation for your work. Tell us how that went, what was it about, and did you actually go to the White House and meet the president? Something I don't know.
Went to the White House, did not meet the president.
Uh-huh.
He was in Texas that day.
He was in Texas. So was it a whole bunch of folks
There's
being
a whole bunch of folks
honored for their work with
yes,
Sandy?
Yes, there were a bunch of folks from New York and New Jersey who were nominated by the general public. And it was basically, it's a program called Champion of Change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they honor people who were involved in obviously something. Now they do it for obviously disasters, but also technology, medicine, etc.
Right.
And it was a real exciting experience because when I told to JSHN, right, I told the people that I got this honor, and
Jersey Shore Hurricane
News.
News.
I was very hesitant to even get that out there. I'm very private online on Jersey Shore Hurricane News. I like to keep myself out of the story because it's not about me.
You're more like a traditional journalist than you want to admit to.
Sure, but when I told people about it, I said, you know, this honor goes to all of you because you are part of the news reporting team, and really, kind of that's really what it's about. Trying to democratize media, trying to get people involved, and giving them a stake in their communities.
Before we move back to Kevin for a moment, you feel that works? It's working?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, stake in communities, helping the folks at large. And Kevin, you know, we wanted to go back to something before we took the break, where you needed help financing your project.
Yes.
Stop me if I'm wrong. Yourself and your wife, Shannon Welch. So you went to Kickstarter.
Yes.
And if I read it right, you met your goal within 48 hours.
Yes.
And then after that, what'd you do?
Well, what happened was we essentially met our goal within 48 hours, thanks mainly to the fact that family and friends contributed toward our cause. And we were looking to raise money to fund a show up in Morris County for Morris Arts that we're going to be doing a 6-month residency for. And that's really what...
That's a gallery show,
it's
right?
a gallery show, yeah. And that's going to be a Sandy exhibit as well, where we're dealing with...
Plug it. Give us a quick
real
where
quick.
and when.
It's a Morris Arts, 14 Maple Avenue, September 11th through February 12th of next year.
Okay.
And what we did was we raised, we requested an amount of about $1,400 on Kickstarter, and we raised significantly more money than that throughout the course of the process. And some questions came up as to what we were going to do with the extra money. And we said, my wife and I talked, and we felt that because we were so lucky to have people back us, that we wanted to give back as well. So we found a local organization in Manasquan called MOVE, Manasquan Organized Volunteer Efforts. I met with them. I explained that I was doing this art show, and there was a potential profit center there. And we decided we were going to help them by giving away a portion of what we're going to make off the sale of our art for Manasquan Recovery. So essentially, we don't know what that amount's going to be yet. We do know that there is going to be an amount, but it's all based off of what sells and what doesn't sell.
A lot of selfless work here. And then I'm going to put in a plug for Sandy, because when we were talking on the phone, you talked about this, your whole project was self-financed. That's not easy to do, where you were...
Up to a point.
Up to a point.
Yes.
Right.
I did write a proposal and get grant money to finish the project. The first 17 months I worked on the project just because I had to.
Right.
And then I had to get some financing to finish it.
And
how
would that 17 months, how would you do that? Sneak away between...
I had other work
jobs,
in my company I do educational videos for Rutgers and NJIT, and I do all kinds of video and television work through my own company.
Right.
But I snuck away a lot more than I probably should have. And, you know, it was, you had to shoot, things would come up that I just couldn't not shoot. So, it was a
How
labor
about-
of love.
How about that iconic shot? And I'll share with the viewers. I called you prior to your coming here. We worked together for 15 years or however long it was at New Jersey Network. And I was flabbergasted, if you will. This was all your camera work,
Yeah.
including that shot of the
Jet
Justin
Star.
used the word iconic before, of the different area, but also iconic, the roller coaster
Jet Star.
in the ocean. And you shot that, and while we were watching it here, you said that was a sunrise.
Yeah.
How'd you even get over there to do, at that point it was opened?
Yeah, that was after the Barrier Island was open.
Right.
And I had this obsession with the Jetstar. I think a lot of people did. It was, a roller coaster I'd been on, and it just was such a bizarre thing to
Right,
have it
yeah.
completely slide off, the pier collapsed under it, and it slid into the ocean pretty much upright.
Upright, yeah.
And it just meant a lot to a lot of people to see this still standing, and it just sort of represented the will to get past this, and just also how bizarre it was that it landed in the ocean that way. And I wanted to shoot it at sunrise. So I'm only 10 minutes from there, so it just meant getting up pretty early.
I think if there were one shot that says it all about this, or that was the most iconic of them all that came out of this, would be that particular.
I think the Jetstar.
I mean, to folks who don't live here, maybe in
Yeah.
California
Sure,
or
yeah.
in Europe, where folks
Yeah.
saw this because it was such a devastating storm.
Yeah, that's what put Seaside Heights on the map internationally with the storm, the fact that that was in the water.
Yeah.
Kevin, back to the art for a moment here.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of your other pictures where you've done
Thank you.
landscapes, great shots, Jersey Shore train line.
Mm-hmm.
You told your fans you were going to be concentrating on for a while. Vibrant local rock and roll scene you have at the shore, including the
Yeah,
Stone
I
Point.
shoot a lot.
Are you still doing that type of thing?
This project really consumed most of what I've been doing. I haven't picked up my camera to shoot anything in probably 6 or 8, outside of this project for 6 or 8 weeks.
Like I asked Sandy earlier about, compelled to other projects she had done. How about you with these other projects? Do you miss the other shooting that you'd had?
Yeah, I miss.
Or
just-
is this
I
where
mi-
you
I
want
miss,
to be?
I miss the fun things. The project that I'm on, it takes a lot out of me to shoot the houses. I mean, it's a sad project, and it requires, being up late at night and then coming back and editing until I'm dead tired just to get the look that I want, to know if it worked, to go out the following night. My wife and I have talked about it. We've we've agreed that I need to start shooting something different, and I think that something different is going to be something easier.
When do you finish, maybe happier too for you, when do you finish shooting? I know you're going on for a while longer in this particular
With this project. This project is going to continue until, I would say, at least through November or December of this year.
And why is that? And you have the title 91 Days, right?
Yeah, the reason why I chose 91 days was I was at home watching another news broadcast, and they were broadcasting how many days it was since the storm. And they had a feature about it's been 91 days and there's still no action from the state government or the federal government, and that just kind of stuck. So that just kind of rattled around my head, and I just said to myself, oh, it's been 91 days, why aren't we getting anyone here to help? And then I realized there were people here to help. And then the countless nights where I just couldn't remember how many nights I've been working on this project. So I kind of put the two together, and that was the title that stuck.
Great title. I like it. Vote.
Thumbs up.
Excellent.
Awesome
Excellent.
title.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. All right. Are any of you concerned that this may not be the last kind of storm that you might be documenting in here? I know you've said, folks say not when, but if, even a superstorm, which Sandy, not to go into it, but from my reading, was a nor'easter and a hurricane combined and was 1,000 miles wide and whatever. But do you sort of quake at the notion that this may not be the last time you're out there, that this may happen again? Talk about it, because you guys were out there on this, and then you too, Justin, about your page.
I
mean-
think it's inevitable that we're going to have more storms. We don't know how severe they'll be. And yes, there was a certain combination that happened with a nor'easter and blocking
Right.
weather patterns and lunar high tide. And there were a few things that combined that made this one a
perfect
superstorm.
storm and a superstorm, yeah.
But
Franklin-storm.
one of the people I interview in the documentary is Dave Robinson, who's the New Jersey state climatologist,
Right.
and he clearly showed from his research and other people's research about sea level rise and just a lot of factors combining in the weather patterns becoming just generally a little bit more severe. He feels, it's not a question of if, but when. And will it be another superstorm that's as devastating? Hopefully never. But there will, of course, be more storms. And some of the areas, not all of them, I interviewed many, many, many people who'd been in their house for 50 years, or the house had been in its location for 75 years and had never had a drop of water. That's along the mainland. And that was a little bit what was unique about the storm, is that so much mainland property flooded way far, far, far away from the ocean. And so the reality is that there are areas that flood regularly when there's a lot of rain. So of course there's talk about trying to get the homes out of harm's way there.
Now, so you would go out and do it all again. You hope that it doesn't have to happen, but and it doesn't happen. But everybody here would.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a
I mean,
hard question right now when
Yeah.
you're still
In
not
our
even
opinion.
through this one.
Maybe it's a weird question
No,
too,
no,
but
it's not
I just
weird.
wondered. I mean, if it comes again,
I guess we'll
what
be
do
compelled
you do?
again. I don't know.
I would start earlier. I mean,
Okay.
I would start earlier because
Do you feel like you missed anything by?
I feel that because I was so worried about trying to find work from the storm, because I was freelance for a website, that my daytime shooting was taken away from my project shooting. If I know that we're going to be faced with another storm like this, I'm gonna prepare myself to start this type of project again as quickly as I can, instead of waiting 6 or 8 weeks to start, because I think that time period is the only downfall of my project. There's a 6 weeks gap that I just don't have, that I wish that I had.
Did you all find what you thought you were going to find when you set out on your projects, or did your projects take you somewhere else, Justin?
I think the project, I mean, look, when I created this, I had no idea that it was going to turn into what it is today, right? And I evolved as time went on, right? And again, I go back to the whole thing about being the reporter, the editor, and editor-in-chief, et cetera. That this is allowed me to kind of evolve with it, right? I just think it's one of those things that if you let it kind of take you there, right, and you don't fight it, it's going to happen naturally.
Yeah.
And that's why when we kind of go back to, will you do this again? Well, it's something that I do on a day-to-day basis still.
Yeah.
Again, there are no hurricanes right now, but my reporting is general reporting, right? So in the event, God forbid, we have this again, the community is going to be there to react, and they're going to be there for each other. And I won't lie, this has taken a toll in many respects in my personal life, especially right after Sandy. I was not a very, I'm not very pretty now, but I certainly wasn't very pretty right after there. It was very tough on me, and that's kind of what if you do this is kind of what you need to deal with.
Tough in terms of lack of sleep, you're not
Lack
eating
of sleep,
right.
not eating right, stress, and really just trying to kind of be that conduit for people.
Sandy?
I guess the reason I said that, it's hard to think about that, is because I, at least, and I think you feel, and we're all three, we're still reporting on this story. I still
Right.
am in the middle of this. We still, when you talk to people, I talked to someone from FEMA just 2 months after the storm, when we were still, a lot of people in the community thinking, let's hurry up and rebuild and put this behind us, and how many months will it be before we're back to normal? And
You
this
have someone in your documentary
this
saying 10
person
years,
from
right?
FEMA said it'll be 10 years, and we almost, people couldn't even imagine that. And now that we're around year 2, you can imagine that certain parts of the recovery are absolutely going to take many, many more years. So we still feel, at least I feel, still very much in the middle of this story. And it is draining. It is draining to deal with the length of time that the recovery is taking for people.
Has your project, did it take you on a sidelight that you didn't expect? Or did you pretty much gather and document what you thought you were going to have when you set out with your camera?
I didn't realize that my story would end up being so much about people's struggles with insurance and with the FEMA, the changes in the elevation. The FEMA changes in the elevation were going on before Sandy even hit, which people know now, but they didn't really understand at the time. And so a lot of my piece is about people struggling to figure out what to do as far as raising their homes and how to pay for it when they had so much trouble with the insurance. I didn't anticipate that being sort of the focus of it, but that's what it's turned out to be.
And you think it'll be helpful in terms of bringing about change or
Well,
positive or?
I would love to, if we ever have another hurricane or superstorm or any kind of disaster like this, I certainly would hope that it doesn't take the length of time for people to get what they need, of course. I think, maybe it'll play some small part in that. But I think what it'll do for other people who see it is that feeling of, I'm not in this alone, other people are still struggling. The feelings I'm having are normal. Like, people have post-traumatic stress from what happened. A lot of people have had a lot of emotional stress from the storm, and I think it's helpful when you see and hear that from someone else. So I think that's what it'll do.
And Kevin, did your project take you anywhere that you thought?
I think that
you didn't know you were going when you started out?
I think that the initial first 3 or 4 pictures of taking pictures at night was a cool concept, and then it pushed me to a very dark place for a long time. It just because of the nature of the project, and then I never anticipated sharing. I just never thought I would be in a room with the 3 of you, or in an opportunity to share my photos in a gallery, or to be in an opportunity to even talk about Hurricane Sandy as an impact. I never thought that my work was qualified for that. And I think that is really interesting to me, that I'm doing something that people value, and I'm going to continue doing that value item until I can't do it anymore.
You think it's a healing thing, or it's at this point also, or?
I just think that there's just still so much to shoot, I just don't want to stop.
And we should note that you were recognized with an award from Ocean County, the Arts Festival
Yeah,
down there,
the
I
Artist
think?
Guild, yeah.
Yeah.
We entered a competition just to try something different. And the picture did pretty well for itself.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept that you didn't know, that you thought that these pictures maybe would be on your wall. It was just something you had to do, but here you have now, like Justin, you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are going to be looking at it.
To be in the same category with
Sandy,
Justin and Sandy
was
is just incredible.
Yeah, that's great. Well, like we said at the top, extraordinarily talented, all 3 of you. The people are lucky to have you and to have this documented, New Jerseyans. We're very lucky. So that's all the time we have, and we'll have to turn the page. So Sandy, Kevin, and Justin, thanks all for coming in.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
to
you,
you all
Jim, for
in the
having us.
future.
All right, thank you.
All right, and as we look to get past the tragedy and onto more hopeful beginnings in the aftermath of the superstorm. All right, I'm Jim Hooker, your host. Thanks for watching.